Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone. All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer. And so tonight, I want to update you on the latest steps we're taking to fight the disease and what you can do to help. And I want to begin by reminding you why the UK has been taking the approach that we have. Without a huge national effort to halt the growth of this
The fight between humanity and the coronavirus is far from over. Although we have claimed the upper hand by following social distancing measures to our best, and have our best scientists working on a vaccine at this very moment, the world must ask itself a very important question. Will this virus ever be completely eradicated? This isn't an easy question to answer, but perhaps it would be beneficial to us if we look back through history to understand our mistakes. After all, this isn't the first time the UK or the world has endured a pandemic. Cholera is a fatal disease which is transmitted from the presence of the bacteria Vibrio cholerae in drinking water. The symptoms of cholera are very fatal, including vomiting, diarrhea, low blood pressure, and blue-tinged skin. Not the nicest. Cholera is the equivalent to coronavirus, spreading rapidly through water sources. The difference is that it dominated the entire 19th century, causing hundreds of thousands of deaths. There were multiple outbreaks of cholera during the 19th century, but the most impactful to Britain were the first 4 outbreaks. Cholera is thought to have originated in Asia, sparking the first pandemic. It did the most damage to the UK in 1832. It was thought to have travelled to the United Kingdom through passenger ships and pilgrimage. The disease's origins in Asia triggered a long-lasting xenophobia from the British public onto the Asian community, even going as far as placing surveillance on Asian ethnic groups. It's also worth noting that the emancipation of slaves wasn't achieved until 1838, and even after that, illegal slave trading still occurred. This hate added to the spread of the disease for the rest of the century. Fear swept the world when cholera first broke out. The UK didn't know how to treat it, and quack medicines were sold to the public, not knowing if it would actually help them or not. At the time, Britain was under the impression that cholera lived in the air, calling it miasma. Military would often fire gunpowder in the air to expel the disease. Don't try this at home, kids. The second cholera outbreak in the UK occurred from 1848 to 1849. At the time of this outbreak, the first Public Health Act is founded, introducing measures to stop the spread of infection. Sounds familiar. The now legend in the field of epidemiology, John Snow, had put forward a medical paper outlining his theory on cholera spreading via water. However, he wasn't taken seriously by the government. The third outbreak struck the UK harder than ever, being deemed the worst year. Luckily, Snow had found a way to prove his theory and find the source of the contaminated water using a map of London and talking to the locals. This source turned out to be the now infamous Broad Street pump. John Snow was able to save millions of lives. The fourth outbreak was anomalous and unexpected. The cases of cholera had been on a downwards trend, but it had spiked in 1866. John Snow was no longer alive. Fortunately, another great mind named William Farr was ready to take over. Farr was a stats guy and a mathematician at heart, and using the data available, him and his team were able to locate the source of the outbreak, the East London Water Company. William Farr is often forgotten about, but is a revolutionary in fighting disease. You know, looking back at the past, one thing I've realized is that nothing's really changed. There are those of us who still blame one race for the virus.
Kung flu!
The black community is still discriminated against. And we still don't know what really protects us. Perhaps we were bound to end up here. Perhaps it was by chance. All I know is, history doesn't have to repeat itself.